Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by Mr. Muskie Charters, offering full-service guided fishing trips for walleye, muskie, bass, and sturgeon on Lake St. Clair and the Detroit and St. Clair rivers. Booking information is online at mrmuskiecharters.com.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. Well, Jenny, we are here again, Outdoorama. There is some monster bucks here.
Jimmy, I can't believe it. We say it every year, and it's the truth. The bucks are getting bigger and bigger. It's amazing. It's crazy that these bucks are coming from Michigan. Absolutely amazing.
I think this is the biggest deer we've ever had at any one show. So make sure that you are tuning into Michigan Outdoors every week, but especially this week. I'm glad you're here because it is Big Buck Night, Outdoorama. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger. This is Jenny Olson, and it's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors. Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Country Smokehouse. Offering a variety of meat products, Country Smokehouse is located 3 miles south of I-69 and M53, just south of Imlay City. Country Smokehouse is a meat processor, a butcher, and a destination for sportsmen. By the Michigan Wildlife Council, entrusted with educating the public on how wildlife in Michigan's outdoors are managed and funded for the use and enjoyment of future generations. Visit mioutdoors.org to learn more.
We all have one, that perfect spot, a special place we go to smooth out the ripples of the day. Our perfect spot is calling. Our perfect spot is pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Michigan-based Vanguard has manufactured optics, hunting packs, and accessories for over 30 years. Discover all of our most recent innovations at vanguardworld.us.
Mike, this is a wide buck. Tell me the story. What happened with this deer?
This is a deer that I've hunted for a couple of years. As you probably saw, I brought the sheds up on stage. It's a deer that was somewhat of a homebody. It was a 5.5-year-old deer dressed out at about 235. So big-bodied deer, a deer, like I said, that I had hunted, but this year didn't show up. So I was a little bit nervous, but it was the deer I was committed to. I was really going in just to observe, just to see if he was around, and lo and behold, I heard a grunt in the woods next to me, and grunted back, and he appeared. So he came down, and again, I was solo cam, or trying to film solo cam, and he came down. He walked down in the bottom of a ditch, which is typically a ditch I walk up, but I think that kind of speaks to his age class as well, because he walked 100 yards to the south in the ditch bottom, and then eventually scanned a food plot that I was sitting in a stand over, and then he gave me a shot opportunity.
So when you saw him, did you know it was that deer?
He has a kicker on this side, and it was definitely, I knew, based on his spread and everything, and trail cam pictures from previous years, I knew what deer it was.
So how long when you saw him to when you shot, how long was that?
I would say it was probably 4 minutes, 5 minutes maybe, but it felt like an eternity.
Well, we saw him about 100, 125 yards to our left down in a field, chasing some does back and forth, and they ran into some thick stuff to our left, and my papa said, "Get ready, because the does are liable to come in here and get something to eat maybe." And probably 5-10 minutes after that, he popped up, and it was fun. Yeah.
Very cool. So you were out, did you say your papa? Is that your grandpa?
Yeah.
Okay. We should tell you the gross score on this buck is 151 inches with a net of 142. Absolutely amazing. So you said you were out there on November 21st, and that was a Monday, and that was kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I had to beg my mom to go hunting that day. It was fun. Yeah.
So you got out of school?
Yeah.
So what happened after you pulled the trigger? I'm assuming this is your biggest buck you've ever shot.
Yeah, this is the biggest one I've ever shot. But it was kind of a high shot, so we didn't find much blood that day. So we pulled out and left, and my papa and dad came back the next morning in probably about 45 minutes, into tracking it. They ended up finding it, and they wouldn't tell me they found it at all because I was blowing up my dad's phone at school. And they ended up finding it, putting it in the truck and taking it up to my school and surprising me with it. It was jaw-dropping, is what I say.
Well, it started out on a Sunday afternoon. I was sitting on the couch, didn't want to go hunting. It was windy, cold. Then my boy Judd comes up about 3 o'clock and says, "Dad, are we going to go hunting today?" Do we have to? He goes, "Come on, Dad, they're going to be moving. We need to go." I said, "All right, where do you want to sit?" And I've been letting him sit a little ways from me so I can keep an eye on him, but he's getting better. So I put him in the ground blind, and I went on the back side of the woods, and really with nothing moving that night. Nothing. I seen one deer, and my wife texted me and asked me how it was going. I said, not real well, freezing my butt off. Put my phone back in my pocket, and I turned to my right, and that's all I seen was big body and left side.
How far was he from you?
About 50 yards. He come up out of the valley of the woods I hunt, and I pulled up, I shot, and he about reared over backwards.
Really?
I knew I hit him, but you can ask all my buddies in town, I don't shoot a gun real well. You can even ask my boy here, Jimmy. I don't. So I was nervous. I don't remember getting out of a tree stand. I got up to him. We got up to the house. Called my buddies up. They come over. And my one good friend, he's like, "Yeah, you probably just shot a 110-inch deer." I said, "No, I think he's a little bigger than that." Well,
And so how far was the shot when you took it?
about 50 yards, yeah. Then we started going across the cornfield, and when we found him, I kind of got a little crazy.
So it was November 13th, and I really didn't want to get out of bed that morning, but luckily she wanted to go sit with me. Being at college, it's probably like the only time she gets with me in the fall. So she talked me into going, and we got out there right before daylight. I had some deer in the field, and I could tell one was a buck, so I grunted at him. Came in, it was getting a little lighter. I could tell it was a little buck. So we sat there a little longer, and nothing. And then 2 bucks actually came out of we have a little pine tree parcel, and this was one of them, and they both disappeared. And probably like half an hour later, he came back out 150 yards away with a couple does, and he started walking away from me, so I grunted at him. From the time I grunted at him, he was within 12 yards in about a minute and a half, and that's where I shot him. So.
All right, we got to back up a minute because where were you this whole time, Ann?
Sitting below him, and he's in the tree stand. I'm sitting right below him on the tree.
You're on the ground with anything in front of you, or just on the ground?
I was just sitting on the ground.
So what did that all look like from your perspective then?
Well, I didn't. And the funny thing is I sit very still anyway. But he he whispered to me from up there, "Don't move." And I couldn't see it at first until it came around from the hill, and then I saw him, and he had left his does. He had grunted at him. He'd left the does, and he was cornering away in the corner, and he grunted again. He turned and looked at us, and I'm just going, "Please, please, come this way, come this way." And he turned and trotted right down, and I thought he was going to go past, and Hunter grunted at him again, and he stopped from me to the camera guy and turned and was staring at me just like this, looking at me. And it was like, it seemed like forever till he let the arrow go, and I was just sitting there going, "Shoot him, shoot him." And then he let it go, and he did his little mule kick, and off he went.
Did you know this thing was in the woods?
We didn't know if he was still there, but we did have a picture of him in late September on trail cam with 2 other really nice bucks. And this was in December, so really had no idea if he was still there or not.
Wow, okay, so how big a property are you hunting?
It's actually about only an acre, but it butts up to a lot of other private land.
Wow, 1 acre. That's a good 1 acre. Let's hear the story.
Well, we got a food plot out there, and it was, like I said, it was late in the season, and this is one of those, it's better be lucky than good, I guess, because I just happened to be looking out when he came trotting by, and I wasn't sure if it was him. I knew he was big. I got the gun out, pulled the trigger, and crossed my fingers, because I felt good about the shot.
How far was the shot?
It was only 60 yards, but he was on the edge of the plot, making his way to a soybean field, And like I said, I let it rip. I knew he was big. I knew he was a shooter, and I felt good about it.
And was he by himself?
All by himself. Yep.
So tell me what happened after you pulled the trigger. What happened?
I wanted to jump out of the seat, run right down there, and see if I could find some blood right away. But I, thought about it, and I waited there for a good hour. Called my brother. Got a twin brother who hunts out there with us, and my uncle. We went out, found blood, started tracking, and ended up walking out about 200 yards.
It was our first day out. It was about 60 degrees. Me and my dad have a two-man tree stand, and I was watching some does off to the left, and we just heard some rustling, and so I turned and looked, and he just popped out of nowhere. And so I started moving my gun over and leaned it down on the gun rest, and it was about probably 20 seconds from the moment I saw him to the moment I shot him. It was really, really pretty crazy.
How far away was the shot?
70 yards.
Okay, so is this your first buck?
No, it's my second buck.
Biggest buck, I guess.
Yeah, definitely my biggest buck.
So what, you didn't even have time to get nervous, eh? Tell me what was going through your mind.
I was definitely breathing really hard. I don't know really remember a thought process or anything like that. It was pretty insane.
Oh, very cool. So Jason, do you have anything to add to the story here?
We couldn't breathe very well, either one of us. And I remember as he moved the gun from left to right, his shoulders were heaving, and I went, oh, this shot's going to be tough. But he made it. He put a good shot on him at 70 yards, so, yeah.
Awesome. So what happened after the shot? Was it a little crazy up there, getting out of the tree and going to find him?
Yeah, he ran about maybe 50 yards or so, and I really couldn't tell how big he was when I shot him. But when we got down there and pulled him out of the weeds, I was pretty shocked.
So it was an evening hunt, December 15th, 2016. He came in last light, chased a couple does around, chased it off his corn pile, his
specific?
Yeah, his specific corn pile. Chased him off there and went and ate. Never gave me a good shot until maybe 10 minutes in, and then I took it because I didn't know when I was going to get the next one.
Are you in a tree stand, ground blind?
I was in a ground blind.
Okay, and anybody with you?
I was with my dad.
Okay. And so what? You saw him, and what was the conversation like in the blind?
It was more like, don't miss.
Did you say don't miss, or Dad said don't miss?
Dad said don't miss.
And how far was the shot?
30 yards.
So 30? Okay, and so did you have time to get nervous, or was it just all happened too fast?
Yeah, he came in, and it was like he kind of tortured us for a little bit before he let us get the shot, because he came in the back and slowly walked in.
Oh, so you had plenty of time to get nervous?
Yeah. We got nervous, and then got unnervous, and then realized it was the big buck, and then got nervous again, and then we had to get unnervous again. So
that's a lot of nerves going on. Yeah. Okay, so you pulled the trigger, and then did he fall right over? Did he take off? What happened?
He jumped and ran.
Okay. And did you feel good about it when you squeezed the trigger?
I saw a donkey kick, and then we were just hugging after that. Like,
did you have time to watch him run away to get an idea where he went?
Yeah.
Okay. How far did he go?
He ran about 70 yards through thick stuff. So.
Actually, I got out late to the stand because I had helped my buddy get in his stand and saw a couple does early in the morning. Then about 9 o'clock, I was texting my buddy and said, they make it look so easy on TV. And I looked up, and there he was about 100 yards from me and walking straight towards me, and got about 20 yards, and I started pulling the trigger.
That's it. Short and sweet. Do you guys have how big of a chunk of land do you have to hunt?
My brother-in-law and father-in-law got 500-600 acres.
Nice. You guys do QDM out there?
Kinda, I guess.
Okay, I was going to say, it's paying off if you do. So what, did you guys know this buck was out there roaming around?
I knew it was out there after I shot it. Of course, the neighbors had pictures of it.
Okay, yeah, it came out of the woodwork afterwards. Very cool. So you're walking up on it. You had to be the star of the camp then.
Yeah, I was pretty excited. I tried to call 6 different people, but nobody answered. So I got hold of my cousin in Tennessee, but he wasn't really no help.
So did you drag this guy out all by yourself then?
Actually, I threw him back in my gator and went to my father-in-law's to show everybody.
Did you know this was out there? Are you hunting this deer?
Yeah, I seen him during the summer and during velvet a lot, but I went out every weekend for bow season. I didn't see him, so
every weekend?
Every weekend, yeah.
Wow.
That's when you're in college. So I went out every weekend, didn't see him, so I thought, somebody shot him. And then I went out second day of opening gun, the 16th, and my brother shot a doe about 5 minutes before him, and then I shot him.
Well, tell me the story. What, long shot, close shot, what happened?
Well, he sat in the woods. I sat about 200 yards north of him, about a row in a cornfield. So there was about 2 acres of corn on, and then he shot his doe at about 8 o'clock. So I called him. I'm like, I'll come help you, tracker. And as soon as I hung up the phone, a doe came through the cornfield. So I'm like, she's a pretty good-sized doe. I'll take her. And then I heard grunting. I'm like, no, that's a buck. And then I seen him pick up his head through the corn. I just seen antlers. I'm like, holy crap.
And so how far was he from you at that point?
About 10 yards.
10 yards? That is a holy crap moment.
He didn't know I was there. So I knelt down as slowly and quietly as I could.
So you knelt down? Yeah. Why'd you do that?
So he couldn't see me.
He wouldn't see you moving at 10 paces or anything.
No. And the doe took off that I was following, and he was facing me. And so he heard her running through the corn, and he turned broadside from me to go chase her, and that's when I pulled the trigger.
At 10 yards?
At 10 yards.
Did you have a scope on this gun, or was it open sights?
Open sights.
That's probably good. So could you see right where you hit him? I mean, did you see the impact, and did it go right down, or what happened?
I actually shot him right in the neck, and he went down.
Black Friday. Usually I don't hunt that day because the wife she's gone shopping until middle of the day, and it's her anniversary. It was her anniversary, November 25th.
It still is, right? Okay.
I got a phone call about 8 o'clock in the morning. My stepmom, a place I hunt down the road about 10 acres. She called me and said, there's a couple deer in the back if you want to bring the boys down and see if they can't shoot one. And I said, all right, maybe. I laid in bed for a few minutes thinking, man, she's still asleep. The boys are still asleep. I said, I'm going to sneak down there. I got out there. I couldn't make it all the way to my tree stand in the very back, so I sat in the ground blind up towards the front. And as soon as I sat down, I looked over, and this guy stepped out. He's about maybe 100 yards. All I could see was the horns. Biggest deer I've ever seen. And 5 seconds after that, I had a 10-point come out from the woods to my left. He was bigger than any buck I've ever shot. So now I'm thinking, what do I do? Shoot this one or wait for this guy? And I let him go. The 10-point went across, got ran off by this guy. I seen 2 other bucks come out, got chased off by him. And
was your stepmom watching all this from the house?
She could see it, yes. And so the last buck he chased off, I thought he was gone for good. He took off straight away from me, grunting, head back. I was like, man, he's gone. I missed my only chance. I couldn't shoot the first time I seen him. I was so shaken. I was nervous. And but I calmed down after about 5 minutes. Seemed like 15 minutes. And a doe come out. She's about 80, 90 yards out. She's crossing the field out in front of me. So I'm thinking, oh, here we go. I was already calmed down then. I had my gun in a nice steady rest. And here he came. He came out. Kind of trotting, a little trot, quartering to me. I yelled at him. He wouldn't stop. So I felt good. I was on him. I shot. I seen the mule kick, and he disappeared. I couldn't see too much after I shot. So I got out looking for blood. I found 2 little specks of blood. I walked over towards the edge of the woods, and all I could see was the horns laying in there about 50 yards. So
was out there a little while, and I saw a deer coming from the far right, and all I could see was antlers, and then he came into the woods there, and then I heard a blat, and it sounded like he was getting closer.
How far was he at that point?
I couldn't tell. I couldn't see him then. He was in the woods. I could hear the blat, and we have 3 mowed shooting lanes through the ferns, and all of a sudden he appeared right smack in front of me out the big window of this tight ground blind that we were in. And he stopped and he cleaned out his scrape underneath of a pine branch, and then he put his antlers up, into the...
You were watching him for a while.
Oh, yeah. He put his antlers up into the tree and rubbed them around, and then he walked directly at me.
So when he was doing the scrape and whatnot, how far was he at that point?
I'm not real good at guessing that.
But out of range, you couldn't shoot him at that point?
Probably not. Not with a bow and arrow. But anyway, he came and stopped like right straight, looking on, eye to eye, and I've got the bow pulled up already, and the crosshairs on his chest and his neck, and my husband says, now remember,
this blind isn't as big as your blind. You got to lean way back, because if you shoot that and those limbs hit that front wall, they're going to explode all over the place. It's like my heart's already in my throat. Thank you very much. So I lean back and my shoulders are touching the back wall, and he stopped and he put his nose up and he's sniffing, and it's like, take the shot or, you know, he's going to be gone.
He's close now, right?
He's like 22 yards, and of course the side shot would have been much nicer, but you take what you got. And I remembered the safety. I was so excited I remembered that. Took the safety off, and I let it go, and just as I shot, he was starting to turn to my right. I got him here in the right side of the neck, and it came out his left shoulder. I didn't know that, of course, until we found him, but he did a 180 and took off running. I found the deer, and I started hollering. My husband was on his way trying to find where I crossed, and I said, "Oh, my God, I found him! I found him!" And he says, "Oh, we'll take pictures of him." And I said, "You're not going to believe it, I'm counting 24 points here." And he says, "Oh, baloney." And I said, "Really?"
About a week and a half into bow season, he ran out in front of one of our friends crossing the road. And I went out and set up on him, got photos of him, and hunted him 3 days a week until December 11th.
And December 11th is when you got him. So tell me how that happened. It was a crossbow kill. Tell me how that all unfolded.
Well, it was the big snowstorm, and we went out. I set up 2 stands. My brother hunted the other one, and about 4:45, I had a 10-pointer come in, but I knew he was in there, so I wasn't shooting him, and that's where the buck fever went to. I burned it all up on him. About 10 minutes later, he came walking in, and within 20 seconds, it was over.
Like, how far away was he? Did you get to watch him walk in for a little ways?
No, I had a hole. I mean, they were there, and that's all the warning I got.
So how far of a shot did you have then?
15 yards.
15-yard shot on this thing. Now, you said you had some trail cam pics, or somebody you know had trail cam pics?
Yes, the oldest one I've got is from 2 years ago, and he was just as gnarly.
Okay, so you weren't quite as shocked when you walked up on him. You knew this buck that you were hunting, hey? How did that all pan out?
Well, I wasn't. After I shot him, my brother took the lead up in tracking him. He only went about 40 yards, but when we got up on him, he buried his head in the snow and in the swamp. So my brother goes, "You shot a doe?" And I grabbed his horns, pulled him up, and started celebrating.
Well, I started seeing him in 2015. I had him on trail cam, just a few pictures, only late at night. Hunted him a little bit, never got a chance, and then he vanished, was gone, never to be heard from or seen again. Didn't think, he was just a story, and then hunted all, 2016 season came, hunted all the bow season, hunted through gun season, nothing. Had the trail camera up, didn't see nothing, was watching 8 points, some beautiful 8 points. And then November 30th, he showed up on trail cam again. Last year when I seen him in 2015, he was, best I could tell, he was a 13-pointer, beautiful 13-pointer. When I seen him this year, November 30th on trail cam at night, it was just, when I seen him on the computer, I started hollering, screaming. The wife was like, "What's going on?" She come running out there. I'm like, started getting buck fever just seeing him on trail cam. And December 20th, he came in. It was cold. It was very cold. I had 8 hand warmers on.
8?
Yeah, well, I didn't want to. I was going to get the heater out, but I didn't want to cause any noise or scent or anything. So I had 8 hand warmers, and I was toughing it out, and I was almost ready to give up. I've been seeing does that evening, and no bucks at all. And I thought, well, this ain't it. The wind was wrong. The wind started picking up, and the does left. I thought, this is my chance. I'm getting out of here because I didn't want to ruin it. And all of a sudden, I looked up, and there he was. He'd snuck in by himself at 30 yards, and he didn't give me a shot at first. I had the safety off, and all the other bucks I was watching, no problem. Had the crossbow up practicing, and when this guy came in there, I don't know what the problem was. I couldn't find him in the scope. I went blind temporarily. I took a deep breath and fogged the scope up, and it was just like everything was going wrong again.
And
Are you in a tree or on the ground?
I was on the ground blind. Yep, 30 yards away, and he wouldn't give me the shot. He was blocking with his front shoulder. I kept thinking, come on, move, and he wouldn't. And then I think he ended up winding me because he tried backing up. He was actually going to back out of there, and when he backed up, he gave me that open shot, and I touched it off, and it sounded like I hit him in the shoulder. And so, yeah, for about 20 minutes or 30 minutes, I was waiting, and, you know, the emotions, and, oh, man, I was ready to quit hunting.
So the deer was backing up when you shot?
He was backing out of there, yeah. This guy was, I couldn't pattern him. He was random, very sneaky, and, yeah, I ended up, I got him, double lunged him. He went about 75 yards and just took the wind right out of him.
Thanks to everyone that made Big Buck Night East such a great night. Stay tuned for Big Buck Night West next week.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com. By the Michigan chapters of Safari Club International. For over 40 years, SCI has been protecting hunters' rights and promoting wildlife conservation here in Michigan and around the world. SCI chapter locations can be found on the web at firstformichigan.org. By Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises of Munising, exploring Lake Superior's Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. With its sandstone cliffs, caves, waterfalls, and lighthouses, Pictured Rocks Boat Cruise is on the web at picturedrocks.com. Closed captioning provided by Marvo Mineral, makers of Lucky Buck, deer management products including minerals to supplement deer diets year-round to improve health and antler growth.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. The white-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man.